I was under his desk when his wife walked into the reception area. I could hear her heels clicking on the marble floor, hear her voice asking the secretary where her husband was. He was sitting right above me, hand pressed against my shoulder, telling me without words to stay absolutely still. His wedding ring caught the light from his desk lamp. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought she'd hear it through the walls. My name is Valentina. I'm 28 years old. I live in Miami, and I'm about to tell you something I've never told anyone, not even my closest friends. This is the story of how I became the other woman to a man who had everything to lose. It started innocent enough. I got hired as a legal assistant at Ramirez and Associates about 2 years ago. It's this high-rise firm in downtown Miami, glass windows overlooking Biscayne Bay, expensive art on the walls, the kind of place where everyone wears designer suits and drinks espresso from Italy. I was fresh out of paralegal school, excited to finally have a real job, a real salary. Carlos Ramirez was the senior partner, 45 years old, sharp suits, salt and pepper hair, the kind of confidence that comes from winning cases and making money. His office was corner view, massive mahogany desk, leather chairs, and right there on that desk, facing everyone who walked in, was a silver framed photo of his wife and 2 kids. Beautiful family, perfect smiles. I noticed it the first day. For the first few months, we were completely professional. He'd ask me to file documents, schedule depositions, bring coffee to client meetings. I was good at my job, efficient. He noticed, started giving me more responsibility, trusting me with bigger cases. I'd stay late to finish work, and I noticed he stayed late too. The office would empty out around 6, but Carlos would still be there at 8, 9, sometimes 10 at night, and so would I. That's when things started shifting. We'd pass each other in the hallway, and he'd smile. Not the professional smile he gave everyone else, something warmer, more personal. One night in late September, around 9 o'clock, I was filing documents in the copy room when he walked in. The fluorescent lights were harsh, made everything feel too bright, too exposed. He said he needed copies of a contract. I said I'd do it. He didn't leave, just stood there, watching me. I could feel his eyes on me. I turned around. He was leaning against the door frame, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. He looked tired, but not the kind of tired that makes you want to go home, the kind that makes you want something else. He said, _quote, _0 _. I laughed, said, quote 1. He smiled, quote 2. There was something in the way he said it, something that made my stomach flip. I didn't respond, just turned back to the copier. He left, but that moment stayed with me. The way he looked at me, the way he said my name, like it meant something. After that, the late nights became more frequent. He'd order dinner for both of us, Chinese or Italian, and we'd eat in his office, talking about cases, about Miami, about nothing important. He asked about my life, where I grew up, why I became a paralegal, what I wanted. I asked about him too. He talked about law school, about building the firm, about the pressure of keeping everything running. He didn't talk about his wife, not once. It felt deliberate, like there was this unspoken agreement that she didn't exist in that space, in those late night hours when it was just us. The first time he touched me, it was casual. We were standing by his desk, reviewing a brief, and his hand brushed against mine, just for a second. But he didn't move it. Neither did I. We both looked down at where our hands were touching. Then he pulled away, cleared his throat, said something about the case, but the air had changed. There was this tension you could cut with a knife. It was a Thursday night, around 9 when everything shifted. He called me into his office, said he needed to discuss a case. I walked in, and he closed the door behind me. That's when I knew. You know that feeling when you know exactly what's about to happen, even before it does? That. He turned to face me. His jaw was tight. His eyes were darker than usual. He said, quote 3, I played dumb, said, quote 4, he stepped closer, quote 5, my heart was racing. I should have walked out, should have said this was inappropriate, that he was married, that I valued my job, but I didn't. Instead, I whispered, "You're married." He nodded. I know I am, but I can't stop." His voice was rough, almost desperate. He moved closer. I could smell his cologne, something expensive and woodsy. His hand came up to my face, fingers tracing my jaw. "Tell me to stop," he said. "Tell me this is wrong and I'll never mention it again." I didn't tell him to stop. I kissed him. Or he kissed me. I don't even remember who moved first. His hands were in my hair. My back was against the door, and everything I'd been feeling for months just erupted. The kiss was hungry, urgent, like we'd been starving and finally found food. His hands moved down my sides, and I didn't stop him. I pulled him closer. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. He pressed his forehead against mine, said, quote 10, I said, quote 11. He kissed me again. That night, we didn't leave his office until past midnight. The city lights sparkled below us, and the building was completely empty. We were tangled together on the leather couch in his office, the one where clients usually sat. His jacket was on the floor. My blouse was unbuttoned. Everything felt like it was happening too fast and too slow at the same time. Afterwards, we just lay there, not talking, his arm around me, my head on his chest. I could hear his heartbeat, steady, strong. He said, "This can't happen again." I said, "I know," but we both knew it would. It became our routine. 2, sometimes 3 times a week, we'd stay late. He'd lock his office door. We'd be together, sometimes on the couch, sometimes against his desk, once on the floor. It was reckless and thrilling and wrong, and I couldn't get enough. He'd text me during the day, little messages, quote 14, quote 15, quote 16, and I always did. I knew it was temporary, knew he wasn't going to leave his wife, but in those moments, when it was just us, I let myself pretend. Pretend he was mine. Pretend the photo on his desk didn't exist. The closest call happened on a Wednesday afternoon. We'd been seeing each other for about 7 months at that point. We'd gotten comfortable. Too comfortable. Maybe even careless. It was around 2 in the afternoon, middle of the workday. He called me into his office, said he needed help with a file, but when I walked in and closed the door, he pulled me to him immediately, kissed me hard. I said, quote 17. He cut me off, quote 18. There's something about the danger that made it more intense. The fact that the office was full of people, that his secretary was sitting right outside, that anyone could knock. He sat down in his desk chair, pulled me onto his lap. His hands were already sliding up my skirt. I was trying to be quiet, trying to listen for footsteps outside the door. His mouth was on my neck, and I was losing the ability to think straight. That's when we heard it, the intercom buzzing. His secretary's voice, professional and crisp. "Mr. Ramirez, your wife is here. She says she's taking you to lunch." Everything stopped. My blood went cold. He looked at me, eyes wide. For a second, we just stared at each other, frozen. Then he moved fast, grabbed my waist, guided me down, under the desk. I crouched there, heart hammering, trying to make myself as small as possible. He straightened his tie, ran a hand through his hair, pressed the intercom button. His voice was completely calm. "Tell her I'll be just a moment. I'm on an important call." I could hear her response through the speaker. "Of course, I'll let her know." Then silence. He looked down at me and I saw something in his eyes. Fear maybe, or thrill. He mouthed, "Don't move." Then he picked up his desk phone, pretended to be in a conversation about contracts and litigation and filing dates. His voice was steady, professional, like I wasn't right there beneath him, pressed against the side of his desk, barely breathing. I heard the door to the reception area open, heard her voice. It was the first time I'd ever heard it in person. Light, pleasant. She was talking to the secretary, asking about dinner plans, mentioning something about their son's soccer game. She was so close, maybe 10 feet away. If she walked into his office right now, if she decided to surprise him, she'd see me. The other woman, crouched under her husband's desk like some kind of shameful secret. He kept talking on the phone, his hand reaching down, gripping my shoulder, hard, telling me without words to stay still, stay silent. I was shaking, from fear, from adrenaline, from something else I couldn't name. This was insane. This was too much. But there was a part of me, a dark, twisted part, that felt alive in that moment. More alive than I'd felt in months. 5 minutes passed. Felt like 5 hours. Finally, he hung up the phone, pressed the intercom. _quote_23_. He looked down at me. His eyes were intense, dark. He whispered, quote 24. Then he stood up, straightened his jacket, and walked out of his office. I heard him greet her, heard him say something about being slammed with work, heard her laugh. They left together. The door closed. Silence. I stayed under that desk for another 3 minutes, just breathing, trying to calm my racing heart. When I finally crawled out, my legs were shaking. I sat in his chair, the same chair he'd been sitting in, and looked at that family photo on his desk. His wife was beautiful. Blonde, fit, perfect smile. She looked happy. I wondered if she had any idea, if she suspected, or if she trusted him completely. He texted me 20 minutes later. I'm sorry, that was too close. Let's be more careful. I texted back, okay, but we weren't more careful. If anything, we got worse. The near miss had made everything more intense, more addictive. We started taking bigger risks, meeting at hotels during lunch breaks, in his car in empty parking garages, once in the file room while a partner meeting was happening down the hall. It was like we couldn't stop ourselves, like we were addicted to the danger as much as to each other. Around the 1-year mark, things started changing. He became more distant, would cancel our plans at the last minute, stop texting as much. I'd ask if everything was okay, and he'd say he was just busy, stressed about a case. But I knew. You always know. I started wondering if there was someone else, another woman, younger, maybe, less complicated. The thought made me sick. Then one morning in March, I got called into the HR office. My stomach dropped the second I saw the director's face. She closed the door, sat down, slid a manila folder across the desk. Inside were photos. Me and Carlos leaving a hotel in Coral Gables, getting into his car, walking too close, his hand on my lower back. My face went numb. She said, quote 27, I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. She kept talking, something about severance and references and keeping this quiet, but I wasn't listening. All I could think about was that photo. The way we looked so obvious, so careless. How did we think we'd get away with this? I was escorted out that afternoon, packed my desk in a box while everyone watched. Nobody said anything, but I saw the faces, the judgment, the pity. Carlos wasn't even there. He'd called in sick. I wanted to call him, text him, ask him what we were going to do, but I didn't. I just went home. He called me that night, said he was sorry, said the divorce was going to be brutal, that his wife was taking him for everything. He'd lose half his assets, maybe more. He sounded destroyed. I asked, quote 28. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, quote 29, I believed him. I held on to that promise for weeks, waited for him to call, to make plans, to tell me it was finally just us. But the calls became less frequent. Then they stopped. I'd text him. He'd respond with short answers, quote 30, quote 31, quote 32, but soon never came. 6 weeks after I lost my job, his wife called me. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Her voice was cold, controlled. She said, I hope he was worth your career. I hope those stolen moments were worth destroying a family. Then she hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, her words echoing in my head. I tried to find another legal job, sent out dozens of resumes, got a few interviews. But Miami's legal community is small, word travels. One firm actually told me straight up that they couldn't hire someone with my history. That's what I'd become. A history. A cautionary tale. The girl who slept with her boss and blew up her career. 2 months ago, I saw him. I was having coffee at this place in Brickell, and he walked in with a woman. She looked about 24, 25, dark hair, tight dress, laughing at something he said. He saw me. Our eyes met. For a second, something flickered across his face. Guilt, maybe? Or just discomfort. Then he looked away, guided his date to a table on the other side of the cafe. They sat down. He didn't look at me again. That's when I understood. I wasn't special. I wasn't the one. I was just another woman in a pattern. He'd done this before me. He'd do it again after me. The cycle just repeats. And I'd let myself believe I was different. That what we had was real. That he'd actually leave his wife for me. I'm still looking for work. Still trying to rebuild. Most days I'm okay. Some days I'm not. I think about those nights in his office. The way he looked at me. The way he said my name. Part of me misses it. The intensity. The passion. The feeling of being wanted that badly. But another part of me knows the truth. I traded my future for stolen moments. I became the other woman. And in the end, I was the only one who really lost. So that's my story. That's what happened when I became the woman hiding under the desk while his wife waited in the lobby. Make of it what you will.